What's up? Welcome to today's live stream. I'm him. It's Saturday, January 18th. It's the day before the TikTok ban. RRP to all those people who use TikTok for their way of living. I don't know. I'm not stupid, so I've never really fell into the endless scrolling on TikTok where I have no control. That to me, that's just an app for dumb people. I'm sorry if you are one of those dumb people. And no, I'm not holding back today. This is my off day. It's Martin Luther King holiday weekend. We got new president coming. Hopefully, maybe. We'll see. We have what has been getting the hell out of office. I'm happy to see that. And I'm also happy that people are about to find out. It seems that people who are fleeing all of these social media here, which I don't really use it here either, but it seems like all of the people who are fleeing and going over to what is it, Xiaohongshu, the Little Red Book, that app, people are getting banned over there. It seems like a lot of these people with these weird ass ideas, they seem to think that the rest of the world is on the same page with them. As someone who's traveled around a lot of it, I haven't been around to every country, but I've been to 53 of them. I'm going to be real. Most of those countries ain't really messing with the type of ideology that people here think is normal. So people are finding out, and to me, it's funny. I think more people should travel for that reason. You know, you might get into this headspace where you think that the country that you're in here, America, or even UK, France, the proverbial West, a lot of people seem to think that it's better in other places. And that's basically tell me you're stupid without saying that you're stupid. You know, it's kind of like people who ain't never really had anything, and they're talking about what other people who have things should be doing with the things that they have that they've built. I've experienced this because I am someone who's had and I have things, right? Like, I'll never forget. A few months after I made my first few $1 million, I had someone who's never made over 6 figures in their life proceed to tell me how I need to spend my money. And I'm just like, huh? Really? I pay you. and like, no, nah. So yes, I become one of those. I think they call us assholes. The people who actually can do things on their own, people who are independent, people who are competent, people who don't need others to be able to get what they need and want. Yeah, I'm one of those. I know I'm a little soft-spoken at times, but some people just don't realize that. You don't make it to where I am by not being one of the best. All right, anyway, I gotta get work off. I still have work here. Let me close some things because I don't want to deal with this right now. Get rid of that. We'll quit. Yes, all of it. Go away. No more work today. Well, I mean, there's always work to be done, but not that work today. I'll get back to that work maybe on Monday. And yeah, I know it's a holiday, but here's my trick of how I've gotten to where I am. I understand that most people are going to quit. They're going to give up. I understand that most people are lazy as fuck and they don't want to work. So I do the opposite. It's worked out well for me. So when people are out taking time off, going partying and shit, and I'm working. I'm not saying that it's better, you know, but if your goal is to get the result and that result is the same result that I have and you don't, then what that tells me is that no, my way is probably better for the results that you're after, right? So you have to qualify, right? Obviously, if you don't want that kind of lifestyle, then don't follow it. All right, more work stuff is being closed. I'm probably gonna watch some videos and talk shit, because what else is there to do before I go work out? I gotta rile myself up. It's leg day today. I just did a 2-mile rucksack walk. I don't know if it's a rucksack technically. Hold on, let me go get it. All right. Oh shit, this is heavy. It's I think it's like a 20 pound, 25 pound, one of those. It's probably a 20 pound. Turn on these lights so we can see some stuff. Oh shit. I shouldn't be having this while I'm sitting on my chair. I should stand up. Yeah, so I did my little hour-long walk to warm up this morning, and then I'll be going to the gym to do a leg day today. So I'm gonna do 20 minutes of jump roping. I typically only do 15 minutes, but it's a leg day, so I gotta go harder. So we're gonna do 20 minutes of jump rope. I got my 100 squats that I'm gonna do. I got my single leg, basically lunges. I'm gonna do lunges. And what else I'm gonna do? I think I had to do some type of pushing. Guys, the sleds, we have sleds. So I'm gonna do a push pull, which should be fun. This should be fun. All right, let's go over here. I have some things up in Discord that I've been posting, and you can consider it curated. It's halfway curated. I'm not saying that it's actually curated. Some of this I'll just be like, oh, watch it partially. I'm like, oh, yeah, should probably watch this later, and then I never watch it later. I'm curious, what does y'all's watch later look like in YouTube? My watch later has become useless because it's just so much shit. Like I'll see a video, I'm like, I'll watch it later. All right, I just did a recent video just now, so let's just watch this.
So
I haven't watched it. I literally just clicked it and I was like, oh, yeah, let me put it on here. And if you don't believe that, it was today at 12:08. It's 12:15, so I should tell you all you need to know. I was about to start the stream. I was like, oh yeah, what am I gonna do? We'll figure it out. All right, let's turn this volume down. It's a little bit too loud. And we're also gonna turn down my music to a more respectable -48 decibels.
25 to...
Yeah, and by the way, if you wanna see the, this link or whatever, you should go like. I'm gonna just like it. I haven't watched it yet, but given that I'm watching it on my YouTube channel right now, I should, I feel like I should give it a like. And I'm also share it with y'all. Hopefully y'all can go give them a like. It's very easy and cheap to support people. It's not that hard. That's another thing I will say. I think that I'm where I am because I have helped others. It's that simple. If you're someone who thinks that you're about to get where you want to get just by helping yourself, stay poor. Just real talk. It's one of those things that it's counterintuitive, but the way you get to your success is through service to others. Or you could be selfish. That's cool.
33 now. I've lost about 98% of my friends.
By the way, did you know that 79% of statistics are made up on the spot?
And it's kind of been like a sequence throughout my life so far, actually. Back in high school, when I was a teenager, until my early 20s, I would say that I grew apart from a lot of my friends back then.
I wonder if we share the same definition of a friend. I have a very different definition of a friend. Most people are friendly acquaintances. This is what it is, right? A friend is someone who's like, I can depend on you for things. There are not that many people. There are actually some people who I can depend on for things, but there are not that many people I can depend on for things. So yeah, that's how I differentiate. It's like, okay, there's people who are, they're cool, they're nice. I like to talk to them, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, fine, whatever. But then there are the people who, if I need something, I'm going to them. If I'm not coming to you for anything, then that should tell you something, right? So I have a bunch of people who are around me. It's like they never hear from me for anything, like when it comes to helping me. I just don't bring it up because it's just like, for one, a lot of them just they're not even capable of helping me. And you call it what it is, but I see that most people just don't have capabilities. And given that I am very capable of a lot of things, it's harder for me to just accept someone who is mediocre at something and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to that person to help. It's like they're not even in a position I want to be in. Like, why would I accept help from people who, other than it's like family, it's different, right? And like, but if like you're not in a position that I want to be in, and that has nothing to do with finances, that has everything to do with like your mind space, your physical, like how you are physically, your emotional state, all these things, right? If you're one of those people, and I'm just like, there's nothing about you that I envy, then no, you're probably not someone I'm coming to for any type of help.
And then from my late 20s to now, that's when I started to consciously make a decision to have some.
What's up with these cuts? Is he, wait, I'm confused. Yeah, why is he?
Now that's when I started to consciously make a decision.
Okay, never mind. Okay, I thought he was like punching in. I was, okay, it's just cuts.
To have some people as friends and to.
All right, he's already going too slow. I got it. I'm sorry. I did say I was going to try to watch these in normal speed for y'all, but.
Have some people not as friends. And
no, he did punch
in my 40s, 50s, and 60s, there is one scenario that I am pretty fearful of, and I'm going to talk about that a bit later. But
I'm curious, why is he fearful? I'm going to assume that his fear is that he will be alone. I think that's an unreasonable fear. Here's why: you're never alone. I mean, some people are. Some people don't have the mental voice. They don't have whatever, right? You can call it whatever. I'm gonna call it something else. They don't have that inner voice, that inner spirit, the thing that animates them. They don't have the like any type of divine spirits within them. So yeah, those people may die alone. It's not really, but no, you're never really truly alone, unless you're just weird and you just can't shake that mindset that you're alone. But as long as you share the earth with people, you're not alone.
Let's actually go back to how things were when I was a teen. It's rush hour right now, and I'm waiting for the railway by myself. Kind of like a loner, and I've always been kind of a loner ever since high school started. I don't know when it changed actually, because
he's by himself. He's talking about being a loner. Unless he was born with a twin, he was born alone. All of his consequences are only bared by him, right? No one else is responsible or accountable for his consequences. So it's like, that's just, yeah, we are fundamentally independent beings. And unfortunately here in America, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, we don't really have that community thing here in America. It's more of a individual. Like I think we swing very, very hard on individualism. Not to say that individualism is 100% bad, but maybe some of the things that he's feeling is just being in America. Everybody's independent. They're all doing their own thing. And to be honest, it's the culture, and I think that it's been forced. And I mean, that's kind of what culture is. It's a forcing function, right? So people are kind of forced into servitude. That's what I'm gonna call it. Like, you got to go to work because you want to eat, and because we charge money for things that can be grown out of earth for free, you got to get money. I'm not saying that farmers should give their stuff away, but I'm saying that more people should learn how to work their land. But that's being taken away. Oh, what the hell was that? Whoa, what? I wonder if it's just, okay.
In grade school, I actually had friends. That sounds so horrible to say.
Oops.
I actually had friends where after school, we'd hang out, we'd go ride bikes, play basketball, play Yu-Gi-Oh! And high school, that is when everything changed. And from Vancouver, where I grew up, how it worked is from kindergarten to grade 7, as we call it. That is grade school. There is no such thing as middle school. And from grade 8, which is freshman, to grade 12, which is a senior, I think, that is high school. So basically, in our neighborhood, we had around 5 to 8 grade schools with around like 500 students each. And they would all funnel into these 2 high schools in the neighborhood, each with around 2,000 students to make up that 4,000 students. But
okay, here's another thing I'm hearing. High school. If you go to college, work, anything, these are all places where, yeah, you're going to meet people. And yes, some of them may become acquaintances. And maybe a smaller percent of those people will become actual friends. But here's the thing. You got to ask yourself this question. If you weren't in that school, would the people who you consider your friends have ever spoken to you? Or another way of saying it is, you all forced to go into this one environment. So like that's the only thing you have in common, really, until you figure out that you may have other things in common. So let's say that forced environment is no longer forced upon you. Why would you expect the people who, you formed bonds with to, I mean, not all of them, but like, why would you expect most of the people to continue a bond with you when the only reason that bond existed is because you were all forced into a specific situation? And it's not like, it's not like you're building a true bond or brotherhood or whatever, like in the military, right? Where, you're with these people 24/7 and, it's life or death. So you're going to form different types of bonds as a result. Oh, hold on. What the hell? Oh, I see what's going on. Something is wrong with my other. This is weird. I've been having issues with my computer lately. I don't understand. Maybe it's Apple trying to convince me that I need to buy another laptop, or not a laptop, but desktop. Wait a minute. Okay. For whatever reason, I'm like, why is it showing on the right? All right. Anyway.
Yeah, that was kind of my upbringing. Ever since high school started, I've just been more alone than having friends to hang out with after class. So I think it was definitely grade 8 or 9 when things changed. I was targeted by bullies when I entered high school, and at the time I didn't even realize I was being bullied actually. I just know that our classes were split into day 1 and day 2. I hated going to day 2 classes because that's where all the bullies were, and the nights before day 2, I was anxious going to bed because I have to see those a-holes the next day. And that's why I think that when you enter high school, the hierarchy is set, and I was at the bottom of the hierarchy. Like, I wasn't the worst of the pack because there were kids that were picked on much worse than I was picked on. But the friends that I had in grade school were no longer there. So everybody from my grade school, we kind of just split up and went to different schools. So I had to make new friends, and I called them my school friends because...
So I'm gonna be real. I was never bullied. At least I don't know. I went to, of course, we have chop sessions, we have roasting sessions. We talk all kinds of shit. So I don't consider it bullying. I am very verbally competent. I can destroy people with words. It's actually one of my. It's something that I now understand. So I don't do it. I try not to do it because I now understand people are fragile and they lead with their ego. And when you could pierce that ego, man, people don't like it. But I think that he could have. I don't know. It was that to me that sounds like he had an opportunity. A lot of people like that who just talking shit. Maybe they're just having fun. I don't know. But if you join in on the fun and you have some good ones, a lot of times they'll open up. And even if it results in a fight, okay, that's fine. I don't understand when, as a culture, we decided that we should praise weakness in men. But hey, sometimes after a fight, they realize, oh, okay, and then things change. Or don't take my word for it. You can go listen to one of those female psychologists because they know, obviously.
I really only saw them in school. We didn't hang out after school, after classes. I didn't have anyone to hang out with after school or on weekends, and while people were going out with each other after school, getting boba, going to malls, going to movies, underage drinking. I didn't do any of that. What I did was I went home and I played video games and watched a lot of anime.
Oh man, he had an opportunity. Here I am thinking that he was going to say, oh, I went home and I was studying and I thought that's what he was going to say. I'm going to call them acquaintances. I don't really want to call them friends, but I had people like, who I could hang out with. And you know what I told them? Every single time, nah, I'd rather go do this other thing. And the people who I formed friendships with, they were the people who understood that I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do. And if they want to spend time with me, they need to get on my page. You can call it a character flaw with me. I don't care, right? Like, if you want to be friends with me and you want time out of if you want me to spend my time with you, you have to be on the same page as me. I don't do the other way around. Like, it doesn't work that way. I lead, you follow. Straight up.
And of course, that did not help with improving my communication with other people. So fast forward later on.
I think he could have, if you're on those chat rooms, because all people do is talk shit in those video game, I don't know what you call them, but when people are playing video games online, it's just the most foul, disgusting. It's even pathetic to me. I hear it, I'm just like, man, like this is the kind of thing y'all saying. I'm like, if you remove this anonymity, I don't know, man, you might find out that words won't stop a punch. It's physics, it's science. An adult,
communicating with new people was very, very difficult because I just didn't know what was cool, what was trending, what was popular. When people get on these discussions about music artists, I didn't know any of them because I listened to Japanese anime music. So I always was just that silent guy, because it's not that I didn't have anything to say, it's just that I was scared that what I would say would make me look weird in front of other people.
Okay. He cares about what other people think of him. Okay. That's a character flaw, in my opinion. But saying that, the fact that this man has decided to make a video, talk about these things, upload it for public scrutiny, respect. Respect. Because most people will never do what he's doing. Most people are too afraid to get in front of a camera and tell other people how they really feel. Which is why when you find someone who's willing to tell you how they really feel, sometimes a lot of people resonate with it because sometimes it's what they feel, but they're just too chicken shit to say it publicly. Maybe they're afraid of the consequences. I don't know. Here's my take. Life happens. It's not meant to be easy. Some things will be hard. Yeah, there's going to be ups and downs, but the downs are the things that define the highs. So if you've only experienced up here, that's not very, it's kind of boring. In fact, you don't even know that you're up here because you've only ever been up here. It's not until you had to go down and then you come back up and maybe you go a little bit higher. It's at that point you realize, okay, I now see that this place right here is better, and you don't take it for granted unless you become complacent.
When I entered college, man, I was starting from a very disadvantaged vantage point. So I got really lucky in college because I made a tight group of friends that we still chat with each other today. And it's called Sexy Bras and Grills, which consists of like 13 people. And a bunch of it are guys, and there's one girl, lucky her. But, I credit it to these guys that really helped me get out of my shell. I learned a lot hanging out with them. It was my first time getting drunk with them, first time smoking weed with them. And we still...
None of these things are good. I thought he was about to say something like really, it's like, oh, I smoke weed. And if that's your idea of having a good upbringing, or I guess adolescence years or whatever, is, oh, I got to smoke and drink with people. I don't know, man. I don't know. I am someone, and I don't care if this offends you, but I look down on people who drink. I think I'm better than them. In fact, no, I don't even think that. I know I am. It's like I don't need to rely on external substances or external spirits to achieve whatever mind space that I want to achieve. That's all here.
Chat to this day, but as we've graduated, we've all found jobs, we've all moved on with our careers. Some of us found partners, some of us got married, some of us bought homes, and some of us moved out of the city like I did. And because we move on with our lives, we just naturally grow apart. So I can say with accuracy that it was 28 years old when I started waking up, because that was a time when I had a near-death experience and a heartbreak at the same time. That
Oh, that's interesting. I too had a near-death experience.
Brought me to rock bottom. But up until that point, I was just taking anyone who came into my life as friends. And I met a lot of these
Okay, I see, yeah. So the truth comes out. His definition of a friend is warped. It's that Disneyland version of a friend where, oh, let's be friends, everyone. It's that bullshit. No. Those are acquaintances, friendly acquaintances. They're not friends. I may be sounding pedantic, but knowing the difference between them could save you some strife in your life. You don't go around thinking that certain people are your friends and that they're going to be there because you understand that, no, they're your acquaintances.
Friends at events, and we go to the same dance event. And when we go to dance events, you end up hanging out with each other. And unconsciously, you start accepting each other's values and beliefs. So my values and beliefs rubbed off on them, theirs rubbed off on me. Now, throughout most of this time, I
kind of agree, but kind of disagree at the same time. If you have values that just I don't care. Like I will never adopt that value. It's nothing you can do to get me to change my mind on certain things, especially when it's like a value or a principle. It's like, I'm fine with being wrong. I don't need to be right. I don't care about being right. Right. So it's like you say, oh, well, you're not right for this. Okay, fine. I will be wrong. It's okay. I'm fine being wrong because my life is great. Even when I'm wrong.
Very much heavily involved into West Coast swing dancing. But here's the thing about dancing. I really found myself surrounded by a lot of dancers who I felt were just going to these events as an escape because they don't want to deal with the problems in their lives.
Well, just yeah, but of course. It's their hobby. It's the thing that they're, yes. What's wrong with that? I don't see what's wrong with that. Right? Where I think that's how you can really build a friendship, right? Because you're doing something that isn't forced upon you, right? So it's things that you want to do. So if you meet people in these spaces where they're doing the things that they want to do, and presumably you're doing the same thing, you actually have a real connection because you have something real in common. It's not, oh, we go to the same school, which is, that's a forcing function that has nothing to do with you. So it's like, yeah, these people could be going out to escape these things, and so are you. So you can form a friendship over that. But I mean, it takes time. It's not something where after a couple months it's like, oh yeah. No, it's after years. No, if it's a consistent thing, maybe they become a friend. It may not have to be years too. Some people have shown themselves to be, that to me in hell, like half a year, where it's just like, it's clear that, okay, this person is, we're on the same wavelength. So it's easier that way. And at that point, people tend to think that we're friends for like a long, long time, which is interesting.
Everyone had a mess of a life. And when you combine those,
you shouldn't judge, bro. You shouldn't judge. You shouldn't say that their life is a mess. No, if you're living in a glass house, you shouldn't be throwing rocks at other people. Like, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't go around saying that other people's lives are a mess, because we're all human and we all are going through our own struggles. And to say that someone else's life is a mess, in my opinion, that is more arrogant than me saying that I think I'm better than people who need to drink. Just saying.
With a mess of a life in a relationship.
And I'm fine with being a hypocrite too. I'm a hypocrite, fine.
And
it's cool.
I discovered that there were a lot of polyamorous relationships in West Coast swing, to my surprise. And up until that point, I didn't even know what polyamory meant. So that's when I learned about polyamorous relationships. And it's very different when you're coming from a traditional Chinese culture where monogamy was highly valued.
So he's being introduced to Satanism. He don't know that that's the devil, but no, maybe he will one day.
It is a huge taboo to be in a divorce.
Of course it is. It's a taboo because it leads to the destruction of society. Other civilizations have figured that out. It seems like here in our country, we have decided to throw out all of the knowledge that we know of what makes a civilization fail. And we're I don't know, in our hubris, we think that we could do better. But yeah, it's a taboo in every culture, except for those who, I'm gonna just call them Satanists.
or
And when I
have
say polyamorous, I'm not talking about, you know, like in some cultures, you can have multiple wives. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about it's a group of people and they're just, or that. That's the problem.
an affair. It's shameful not to yourself. It brings shame to your entire family name. And I think that is the crux of being an ABC, which I think is Asian born Canadian if you're from America.
So he's talking about shame culture. All right. Shame culture is a big thing. I think shame culture and face culture are basically the same thing. You know, it's two ways of saying the same thing, in my opinion.
It's ABA, Asian born American, because you grow up with Western values, but those Western values also.
Wait, hold on. We call them ABCs here too, here in America, but it's called American born Chinese. So I guess in Canada, because they're Canadian, that they had to replace the C with Canada, but we don't call them ABAs here. And when I say we, maybe I shouldn't say we because we don't call them anything. They call themselves ABCs, not ABAs.
also conflict with the values of your immigrant parents if you're first generation. And I think due to that, that's when a lot of confusion came up in my life, which I really didn't know how to deal with. And I think because of that conflict, it was really hard for me to date during those formative years because there were.
You're not supposed to date. It's really hard because that's not something that, you know, we've ever done in any civilization. Like dating is not a thing. It's a very modern thing. Dating is a form of entertainment. It's also something that I think is leading to the corruption of our society, where it's this idea that you just go sleeping around with different people until you find someone who like you love. But even the modern idea of love is stupid to me, because someone who falls in love, they're in their 20s, they don't know what the fuck love is. They're single. And when I mean single, like they haven't produced life. So how would they know what love is other than just like to their mother and father, that type of stuff? But that's more of they're just there, right? It's not something where it's coming from you. It's literally coming from you. So I don't understand this idea of you're going to go dating and then like, I guess you fall in love and then what happens when the feeling go away, which looking at the statistics, the feeling always goes away for women. Well, not all of them. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that. Just 70 to 80% of them. How about that? Got to be correct. Fuck political correctness. Just correct. 80% of them.
A lot of girls in dancing, but a lot of them were a mess, like I was. But there was also another thing that held me back, and that was my traditional values that I was raised with. You know,
I don't like how he's saying that held him back. I am not Chinese. It's not my culture. However, I get really weird when people disrespect the traditions that led to them. Another way of saying it is his father, his mother, his grandparents, his great-grandparents, they came from that culture. And their labor led to him being here and able to talk about these things, and for him to go back and say, oh, that's holding me back. And I don't know, man. I don't know.
Chinese culture. And I didn't really acknowledge that until later on when I realized all this, because although I met a lot of women, they were messes, doesn't mean that I didn't get with any of them. And when I did, I just feel empty inside, just laying out there in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking, what?
Yeah. Why would you? Of course. Because you're dating. That's not what we're meant to do. We're meant to form strong bonds, and you don't form that in dating.
What the heck am I doing here? And I came to realize the reason I felt empty was because I wasn't acknowledging the values that I had, and that I was really confused about the values and beliefs that I really held dear to me. So growing up, I always thought I was a very liberal person.
He's in Texas. He must be in Dallas. This don't look like Houston. I know it's not Austin. I can tell Austin. I can tell San Antonio instantly. Dallas, I don't really know. I can tell Houston instantly too. This doesn't look like Houston, so he must be in Dallas. I now need to know where this dude is. I think I need to know where this dude is. He's a Texan. I know he said he's I think he said, I don't know where he said he's from, but if he's a Texan, hell, I'll come and hang out with you.
Very democratic supporting person, but the older I get, the more I realize I am such a conservative. And I realize that the conflict.
Oh man, he's like, I realize man, yeah, I think most men are. Of course we have weak men. I'm not talking about them, but most men are. It comes down to it, because think about it. At the end of the day, we are the ones who build and uplift the society. Everything. So of course you're going to be a little bit more conservative if people are talking about destroying the shit that you built, and that you're going to have to be the one who saves the day. Because in every disaster I've ever seen, even though it happens to everyone equally, and we're all supposed to be equal, and we have all these strong independent types running around, it always seems to be the case that when a natural disaster comes, I don't see no strong independent types out on the power lines or going rescuing people. I don't see that. Now, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's me being racist, because I'm happy to be a racist. That's cool. Maybe it's me being racist, that I just don't see it. I just don't see them when I'm looking at the TV. I don't see them. When I'm driving around, and sometimes I don't see them. I see people who look more like me. And I'm not talking about skin color. I'm talking about that.
It really came from me not vetting the people that I came into my life. So I spent the last 3 years just vetting current and new friends, and sad to say I had to let go 98% of the people. By letting go, I mean, just distancing myself from them. So much so that I moved states. I moved from DC to Texas because I had groups of friends that really were focused on going out late, partying, having fun.
I'm glad he saw it, because I'm like, when he was talking about drinking and smoking, I'm like, what? Like, that's your idea of, okay. All right. Let's just say that if you were someone and you are actually my friend, and I see that you're drinking a lot, I'm going to have a lot of words to say. It's going to be some social pressure. And I may not stick around. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm one of those where I'm just like, hey, like, I don't like that. So either you can continue to like that, do what you want to do without me, or, you stop that thing I don't like. Some people stop the things I don't like. Other people, they're like, oh, and then they go off, and then they think that they can come back. I'm just like, oh, fuck you for life. I'm one of those people. I'm like, once you get on that side, it's like, stay over there.
I didn't want any part of it anymore. I wanted to find a partner, do some homesteading, have some animals, raise some kids. That's the kind of life I ultimately decided I wanted to have. But I found that finding people that want the same kind of life that I just mentioned, with the homesteading, the partner, the kids, it's much harder to find than I thought.
He's right. Here's my tip to anyone who's searching for that type of thing. Don't search for it. Do the actions. Just do the actions. People will see what you're doing, and if they like what you're doing, they will come and tag along. It never works the other way around. You're not going to convince someone to come and join you unless you can show them what you can do to improve their life. And unless you are, you have more than them, you've accomplished more than them, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to do that. So the way that you do it is you just go and live that life, the life that you want.
So today I vet a lot of people in my life. It's just a lot of people don't belong in my life, and neither do they belong in yours. And I think it really starts from knowing what you want your life to be like. A lot of what is promoted in mainstream media today is hedonism. I mean, we have Drake, we have Chris from Mr. Beast himself, and P. Diddy. These are the kind of people we're idolizing.
I gotta leave a comment.
instead of Jesus. You must not make any idols. Don't make any statues or pictures of anything up in the sky or of anything on the earth or of anything down in the water. Don't worship or serve idols of any kind. Exodus 24:5. I'm not getting preachy. I'm just trying to get you to pick the right idols and influences.
No, wait, hold on. No idols is what it says. That means zero. No idols. No idolatry. None of it. No idols. Don't worship anything. If you are going to worship yourself, but not in a narcissistic way. If you are someone who believes that you have divine spirits within you, then you're not actually, when I say yourself, it's not you. It's not just you. It's your entire lineage, right? Your ancestor, like they are within you. So worship that, and you can call that God if you want.
Which includes your friends. And ever since college, I have always hung out with an older crowd. Like, the friends I would have around me would always be 10 years older than I am. And that was great in itself because it allowed me to observe what...
That's actually crazy. Most of who I would consider friends or mentors and all that kind of stuff, they're all older than me. And I've always been around older people. I don't really get along that well with younger people. Not all of them. Some young people are incredibly mature, and honestly, they remind me of me when I was young. So I imagine that maybe the older people who I'm close with, maybe I remind them of what they were like when they were young. But yeah, in my case, I hang out with mostly older people. Now, I will say, now that I'm getting older, becoming one of the older people, I have some younger friends. They're in their, low mid-20s, early mid-20s type thing. It's interesting. It's very interesting, but yeah, most of my friends are older than me. I don't really have many people who are my age, because for the most part, a lot of people who are my age, I don't know, like, we're just not on the same wavelength. I've always been an old spirit. But of course, if you believe the way I believe, then of course I'm an old spirit. Just think about it.
Life would be like 10 years in the future. It allowed me to take a look at the decisions they were making and the consequences of those decisions. And that was a lot of the reasons for why I left DC, because they say DC is a very transitory place. You live there for 3 to 5 years, and if you make it past that 5-year mark, they say you're gonna stay in DC forever. So I made it to 3.5-ish years, and then I moved to Dallas, Texas. And what I've noticed...
Okay, I was right. Man, look at that. I was right. It is Dallas. Yes. Something about that Texas sky, I just recognize it. As I said, I knew it wasn't San Antonio. I see that on site. Austin, I know it's not Austin. I can tell Austin on site. Same with Houston. But yeah, I'm just like, so it has to be Dallas. The metro. Yeah. All the 26 cities that make up Dallas.
Was that a lot of the 30 to 40-year-olds there, they were all single or they were divorced. And they were all out every night doing something. I am not sure how they managed to pay for it. And it was definitely clear that a lot of them had skeletons in the closet. They had a lot of problems that they needed to work on. But it was...
You shouldn't judge. You don't know that. Maybe they just out there living their best life. Never know. You never know.
There was a day that none of them were really working on them. So guys, if you are on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube and you're wondering what sort of content on there are popular because you're making content in order to promote your business, then let Buzzwall HQ help you with that. Just put in a search. Life is high idols with a lot of problems, and their way of life are brainwashing us so that we think that their way of life is how we should
I'm going to let this play.
So guys, if you are on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube and you're wondering what sort of content on there are popular because you're making content in order to promote your business, then let Buzzwall HQ help you with that. Just put in a search term on our app and we will find you content that are performing based on your search term. And you can learn more about it at buzzwallhq.com. Now, let's get back to the video. So I think that as a nation, we have idols with a lot of problems, and their way of life are brainwashing us so that we think that their way of life is how we should be living. And I think that's
a problem. Looking externally for what you need to do in your life. Like, they're them. Doesn't matter what they're doing. It's irrelevant. It's their life. Mind your business. And I don't mean like, I mean like you have business. Mind that. Like fuck what they doing over there. That ain't you. I don't know why that's so easy for me. I'm just like, I don't care what other people are doing. It has no effect on me.
It's something that we have to think deeply on. When I look at myself and I look at the 40, 50, and 60-year-olds on social media that maybe are out partying too late at night, I ask myself the question, is that a life that I really want to live? Heck no. Where I want to be when I'm in my 40s, 50s, and 60s is I would much likely want to have a partner, kids, maybe homesteading with a couple of animals, and not go out past 9 p.m. Though I think that'll be a for sure of not going out past 9 p.m. because I don't even do that today. But I just wanted to say that it is so easy to get lost on what your vision is and have someone else's vision replace your vision of where you actually want to be. And I think that not a lot of people give that idea much thought or enough.
Do y'all agree with that? Is it easy? It's the guy. I don't know. For me, that I don't. It's not hard for me. So it's like I don't understand it. Is it really easy to get off what you want to do and instead do things that other people tell you?
But for now, let's go back to what I mentioned at the start of this video. Let's talk about what I'm most fearful of in my 40s, 50s, and 60s. I wonder if they throw parties in that.
Oops.
So I have a friend who's about 10 years older than me, and I've gotten the chance to meet some of his friends that are the same age as him, and I learned about their stories. They grew up together, and as they were growing up together, they would have went out and gotten drunk, partied together in their early 20s. But later on in life, those friends of his age, they actually...
I never did that growing up. I don't feel bad about it either. I never went out to go drinking or smoking or clubbing, strip clubs, going out partying. I never did it. That's not to say that I've never gotten invites. In fact, and I'm sure over time, some of my friends, they've been around for 10, 20 years at this point. I'm pretty sure that some of them might come on and they'll confirm, like most people describe me as Will. I'm dead ass. That's such a Will thing to do, or that's such a Will thing to say. I have a brand where it's like they already know that I'm probably going to say no, but they're going to ask anyway. I'm just like, I don't understand why, but they keep asking, and they already know what the answer is. They'll be like, I already know you're going to say no, but I'm just asking anyway. So I've always been that where I'm like, I don't know, no, of course not. I don't want to go to a party. The fuck I want to go do there? Like, who's there? How is that going to help me accomplish my goal? How is that party going to help me in any way in my life? Oh, it's not? Well, then I'm going to stay home. Or, oh, we should go to the bar. I don't go to bars. The fuck for? If you want to talk, we can talk here. We can go to the library. We can go somewhere else. Like, what do we need to go there for? Oh, there's some girl. For what? What I need to talk to them for? What are they going to do for me? Nothing? Cost me? No, I'm good. That's always been me. It's just, you don't have to. The fact that he has friends like that and he's actually going, I mean, that maybe good on him. Maybe good on him. Maybe you do need people who are like that, who are at least willing to compromise on certain things and be willing to budge, because not all of us are willing to budge.
Met someone, started progressing in their careers, had kids, and they kind of stopped doing the party and drinking lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And he was pretty sad about that, but he moved on. It's all part of growing apart, like I mentioned earlier. And that's when I came in, because when I met him, I was in my mid-20s and he was in his early to mid-30s, and he was still wanting to have fun, right? He wanted to go drinking, wanted to party, and that's also what I wanted as well. So that's what we did. We did a lot of that. But as time passed, I found myself not finding satisfaction in doing that anymore. So that's when I moved from DC to Dallas, just to get away from people who wanted to do more of that lifestyle. So right now we're kind of growing apart.
He moved to another city to get away from people. No. I had to rephrase that. It's not to get away from people. You can't run away from your situation because the situation is really you. You don't have to do anything. I've been to DC for a while. Nobody forced me to do shit. In fact, the people who I know in DC, they are the complete opposite of what he's describing. You can pick and choose people in your life. And I think that's why he's making the video. Is you can pick and choose who you want to be in your life. And if you have a high standard for yourself, maybe you should have a higher standard for the other people who are auditioning to play a role in your life.
And that's okay, because he found another friend who is also a friend of mine, and he is right now at the age that I was. He's in his mid-20s, and that's what he wants to do. You know, he wants to go out, drink, party. So the old friend of mine, who is now nearing his 40s, is hanging out with him a lot more now. And that's what they're doing. And that's one of my biggest fears, you know? I don't want to be doing the same things I was doing in my 20s, in my 40s, 50s, and 60s. And
I see that. That's actually, I don't think it's the fact that he's phrasing that as a fear. I don't like, what do you mean? You have 100% control over what you do. How is that a fear unless you fear yourself? Unless you fear you don't have discipline? I mean, I can't comprehend those types of statements where it's like, you can change what you're doing literally right now. It's a literal switch. You know, some people are like, oh, I'm gonna go do X, Y, or Z in a few weeks or tomorrow. It's like, you can do it now. I remember when I decided that I didn't want to drink soda anymore. I was a sophomore in high school, and I went to, I was going to the vending machine from debate class, or debate, whatever you want to call it. There was a vending machine because it was right next to the gym, the basketball courts. So I would go over there sometimes to hoop with the basketball team because they had their practice during my debate hour. So I would just go hoop over there with them. And I went over to the vending machine and I looked at all of the options. It was Powerade. I hate Powerade. So I was just like, that's not an option. And it was a bunch of soda. I was just like, I don't want any of this shit. So I got a water. And I didn't drink soda again until 2021. No, 2020. I'm sorry, 2020. So what is that? 2005 to 2000, so 15 years. Just one day I was like, I don't want to drink water. I don't want to drink soda anymore. So I just drink water. It wasn't that hard. It was just, okay, I make the decision now and that's the decision. Kind of like when I decided that, oh, okay, so I wasn't really looking into going to college or any of that kind of stuff until I think my senior year, maybe. I was in my engineering and my CS courses and all that other kind of crap. And I got invited into some society, some honor society. I don't remember what it was, but part of it included them flying us out to Silicon Valley. So I was out in San Jose for a week. I think I spent a day or two in Santa Cruz and San Francisco. And we went to all of the different, well, not all of them, but we went to a lot of different companies. Like I got to, we had a talk with, I forgot his name. He's the guy who created Mozilla. So, got to hang out with them and their engineers. I got to meet some of the folks on the Linux Foundation. We got to go to see a fab. We, back when we still had, the capability to make processors and stuff. Got to go to Berkeley and Stanford and, a few other places in San Francisco, like, some of the larger companies like Google. So it wasn't until then that I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I like that. I was like, oh, what I need to come here and do this. Oh, you need to go to college. Okay, then I'll go to college. That's the story of how I decided that I'm gonna go to college. I never really wanted to go. It was just like, oh, okay, I need to get a degree okay, sure, whatever. I can do that. So I went to college. And that was a spur decision. It was just okay, all right, well, what I need to do to get into college? I need to make sure that I have a high GPA. Okay. My freshman year, I fucked around. My freshman year, I got a 2.9 GPA in high school. Once I decided that I wanted to like go into school, because I think this wasn't senior year. I took CS in sophomore year. I'm sorry, this is sophomore year. Yeah. So yeah, this is sophomore year. Once I decided that I wanted to go and do that, every year after that, I think the lowest GPA I got was a 4.4. So I ended up graduating with above a 4.0 because I was in all AP classes after my freshman year. And I was in pre-AP as well. So like that helped when I was in ninth grade. So that helped a little bit. But if it weren't for the pre-AP stuff, I probably wouldn't have gotten a 2.9. Oh man. And when I tell you the class that I got a bad grade in one class, and it was for something dumb too. It wasn't anything to do with like me per se. It was just like, I think this is dumb. Yeah. I'll tell you the class. It was my PE class. I didn't fail PE, but I didn't get an A or B. And it had everything to do with, there were certain things that we had to do, and I knew what they were. And it's not to say I couldn't do them. I was just like, I'm good. No thanks. And there was another class I effed off in, my math class. I'm not even gonna lie. I effed off in math class. I was in pre-cal in ninth grade, and I didn't study. I ain't even gonna lie. I didn't study. I would show up, test. Man, okay. Some of it I figured out. Obviously, I didn't fail the class, but I didn't take it seriously. However, that being said, all of my other calculus classes from sophomore year to senior year, I did exceptionally well. I did incredibly well.
I am doing that right now because the job that I have is the job that I've been doing since I was in my mid-20s. So I guess the lesson I want to get across today is that you will lose friends. Maybe not 98% of your friends unless you make the conscious decision that this is what you have to do. That is what I had to do because I had dreams that I wanted to accomplish, but my friends weren't the type of people who would chase after their dreams like I have. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. A lot of them wanted to stay as 9-to-5 employees. So there's a difference there.
Oh, I feel that one. I feel that. I actually understand that one. There's just a certain group of people who will never be able to just bridge that gap because my mindset is just too different. I know folks that whenever, let's say they lose a job, their first instinct is to go look for another one, which is weird to me. It's so weird to me. I'm like, for what? But I've been like this since I was a child. So
just lose some friends. That doesn't mean that I won't talk to them anymore. It just means that I have put distance between us in terms of how much we hang out together. That's how we naturally grow apart. Now, it doesn't have to be as dramatic as that for you. Do what works for you. Everybody is different. I think what we gotta learn at the end of the day is, are these friends that will support me in the decision that I'm making? Every single one of the friends that I've left has supported me in the decision that I made it. Even though it was a hard decision, they understand that I had to do this. So we can meet up later and have drinks, even though I don't drink anymore, and there would be no bad blood. But if you have a friend that holds you back and they question you about what you're doing and disagree with you, maybe that is a friend that
he keeps using that word. He keeps using friend. Like, let's not conflate that. A friend will never hold you back. I'll say it again, slower. A friend will never hold you back. The only thing they will ever do is push you farther than you thought that you can go yourself. If you have people around you who are holding you back, perhaps it's time to go read a fucking dictionary and understand that, no, that's not a friend.
That is a friend that would bring a lot of profit if you actually lost them. I just wanted to make the point that losing friends is normal and it's not anything to be hung up about. Now, if you like this video, you might like this other video that I did right here. So go check that out right now. Cool.
Oh, I remember. Oh, okay. I'm subscribed to this guy. I know who he is now.
What is it about
I didn't watch
Hollywood
this. I
movies?
didn't finish this other video. I need to finish it. Fuck. What? Oh my gosh. I'll update now since whatever. Wonder if my mouse is sticking. Sometimes it doesn't. Oh, it did it again. Sometimes it won't respond, and then it'll just jump. You see it? See how it's? Maybe you don't. It's annoying. All right, what else do I have? What was I looking at? I have a bunch of Instagram stuff. I don't look at Instagram stuff. We have mandatory paternity testing. I'll watch that later, I guess. That's not our call. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Here is a guy who I started watching the first few seconds. And I was like, oh yeah, I should probably watch this on stream because yeah. I'm not even gonna lie. A lot of the stuff that I watch lately has just been here on stream. I'll have stuff playing over there all the time, but actually watching, I'm not watching. But ghetto culture. Oh, first, let me give it a like. Just, and I'm gonna also share this person. So, if you like what he has to say, you can go and like his video. You should go like his video. This is Aquarius Wave. Okay, that's a bro. Did your mom? You know what? I can't even. That is a name that I can imagine someone having and who looks like me. That is actually a name that I can imagine. All right.
These problems I've noticed within the so-called black community is that, well, at least parts of the so-called black community.
I like that he said so-called because that's exactly what it is. It is a so-called community. It don't really exist, but it is so-called.
If you can even call it that, because it's become so fragmented and fractured. There are different value
It always has
systems,
been,
which
but
makes for different.
you can't call it that. It is actually the so-called black community. Like he's right there. I'll give him that.
Different subsects. But one of the biggest problems I've noticed is how there is a celebration of criminality, a promotion of criminality, and at the very most neutral level, there's an empathizing or sympathizing with the criminals as opposed to those who are being violated.
So far, he's said no lie. Yeah, so far he said no lie. I went to school in all black schools up until, I don't know. Well, no, that's a lie. No, I went to one school that wasn't all black when I was in elementary, but that was only for a couple years. But a lot of the schools up until junior high were all black. And one thing that I noticed is that there was a lot of dumb people. Sorry. There were a lot of just the things that were celebrated weren't the things that I would think were good. And I'm saying that as someone who I come from there. So I also participate in certain things like, we would have our slap boxing sessions and, in the back in the playground during recess, we'll do dumb shit like that. Or we'll have our chopping sessions. That's what I call them. Maybe I would call it a roasting session where it's just like, it's just a group of us and we ain't doing nothing else, but we just gonna talk shit about each other. Just who can tear someone down the best. And like, I'm not saying that I don't think it was a bad thing because we all did it every day. It's like, I would look forward to it. I'm like, oh man, I got something good today. I'm about to go in on so-and-so. And I thought it was fun. I assume they thought it was fun too, because we did it all the time and it's just what we expect. And again, but looking back, I can say, yeah, that's probably not a great thing. And, I got a lot of respect because I was good with words. And yeah, I was celebrated for things that weren't great. I'm not going to call it violence because words were not violence, but I was celebrated a little bit for not lifting others up. I'll say it that way.
And this creates for larger problems. For example, in California, there were laws that were put into place which decriminalized a lot of these so-called petty crimes, which would have been felonies before. So all of a sudden you could...
I'm getting fucking tired of these robocalls. Like I'll pick up and it'll just hang up.
Steal anything under $950 without any repercussions. It would be a slap on the wrist, more cases than not.
Why do y'all think that happens? I think that is racist for people to say that, oh, we need to change our laws and decriminalize certain things because black people, right? Like, no. If you steal, I don't care what color you are. Just be held accountable. I would go further than the state does. You know, it's actually a good thing that people like me aren't in charge yet.
You could just run up in a store, wipe the place out, run out, and nothing would actually happen. They wouldn't pursue the case. You know, they wouldn't put any sort of resources behind it, etc. And so when you have these types of laws in place because of, you know,
and he might be about to say this, I don't know, but that encourages that type of behavior. I don't, maybe I shouldn't say it encourages, but it enables that type of behavior to grow. And what a lot of people are just, you know, you look at the IQ curve, a lot of people are just too dim-witted. They're a little bit too far on the left to understand that their actions may not have like repercussions on them personally, no, directly, immediately, but it will have repercussions on them and others who are like them down the road. And the fact that in our so-called community, we don't demonize that. Again, he was right. Like, it's celebrated or it's ignored. I don't think that should be the case. I know that there's a lot of, you know, psychological issues present in my community, and some of those are valid, and some of those are, you know, from systemic issues. I will admit that, but at a certain point, you can't use that as an excuse. You still have to be accountable for how you reacted to all of these other, you know, things that have been going on. What these people have effectively done is made sure that if things were to go south in this country, our likelihood of being welcomed in any other country goes down. It's kind of weird to me that, you know, this group of people don't realize that the group of people who gave them rights is in this country, and they're the ones who they want to tear down. It's interesting.
Government such
don't
as
bite the hand that feeds you
government,
is
which is
something that I grew up hearing.
Ideological, quote unquote, progressive, anti-racist government that is looking to sympathize.
Anti-racist. That's always funny, because anti-racists, the way they go about it is by being racist. They're fighting racism with more racism. And yeah, that's kind of weird, because it implies that there is good racism and then there's bad racism, and not that racism is just something that shouldn't be tolerated in general. I think it's such a low bar. It's so low IQ thinking. The reason why I say it that way is it's easier. You could just look and say, oh, okay, well, we must have things because we look similar, instead of it being the other way, which is what I think it should be, where you determine whether or not they have the content of character that, you know, vibes with you. Kind of like what the other guy was saying, the previous video, where it's, you know, pick and choose the people around you. Don't just be around people just to be around people. And a lot of us, I've noticed, I only deal with black people. It's like, oh, okay, I'm not like that. I don't really care what color you are. I'm not saying that I don't see color, because I do. But at the same time, I also recognize that it's not really relevant to a lot of things. I have more in common with people who aren't even from this country than I have with certain people who share my skin complexion. Just let that sink in.
as with the quote unquote criminal, which is very offensive, mind you, especially
It
to
is.
those who they are trying to quote unquote protect. They're saying, well, if you criminalize these things, then a lot of black people are going to be in jail.
Yeah, I'm glad. Okay, I'm glad that someone else sees it that way, because that's how I've always seen it. And I would sometimes, people, oh, it's like, really? Like, like just like do a little bit of critical thinking. I know you weren't taught this as a kid. I know, but like just try, Whereas like these people are essentially saying that you are a criminal, and the only way that you won't go to jail is if we decriminalize these things.
Which is you basically saying that black people are criminals.
Oh,
right? That's inherently.
Yep. Okay, we're on the same page. I am glad that there's another person saying this. And also from my previous point in the last video, whereas, let's say you want to live in a certain type of world, instead of waiting and finding people who want to do it for you or do it with you, you just start doing it and they will find you. Here's an example of this. I don't know who this man is, but I'm sure he has some strong opinions and decided that, you know what, I need to get this off my chest. I'm going to say it publicly. And here he is doing it. And as a result, let me put my give me a second. How do I put it in focus mode? God dang it. Why do they always change this? Why can't it be consistent? Oh, here we are. So we're going to put it in I am streaming till this evening. I forgot my point. I'm just going.
Inherently offensive. You're trying to protect them by decriminalizing, so you're actually stating that they are criminals. But I digress. The true issue that I see here is we then end up having a criminal culture where it's like back in the day, let's say even pre-Civil Rights Act, it was shameful to be a criminal. In the black community, if you were somebody who was running amok, you were ostracized. You were an outsider. It's like out of wedlock birth, right? Ostracized.
There is some interesting things that occurred during that time. The civil rights movement was quickly followed by another movement. Let's just say that pre-civil rights, there were a lot of black men in the homes. As far as I understand, we were married at a much higher rate than the rest of the country. And as far as I know, we were on track to do a lot better than, our size and number in this country would explain, right? Like, I know some people won't see it this way because, your culture isn't the one that's being exported abroad, right? But let's think about what all we've contributed to American soft power, which contributes to a lot of our power. A lot of it is music. I'm not even going to lie. And I'm not saying that music is the most important thing, because it's not. However, it's a very important thing when building a society. Rock and roll. It was us. Jazz. It was us too. Blues. Gospel. R&B, which is just rhythm and blues. Rap. I'm not saying hip hop, the culture. The hip hop is, that's the culture is, even hip hop, if you want to say that too. There's bad parts of hip hop. There's some okay parts of hip hop, I guess, but rapping is, that's one of our contributions. Dance. Hell, when you look at most of Bollywood, I see what Michael Jackson was doing. I see what James Brown was doing. I see what our people were doing in the fucking 30s. That's what I see. What's up, Casual Economist? How are you? Let's go to even other things. Southern food. Who did the cooking in this country? It wasn't them. There are other things. We have some inventions too. There's a lot of things with the peanut that we are responsible for. I think there was a stoplight. I'm not saying that the stoplight is the most important thing, but it's a thing. Refrigeration. It's a pretty important thing. Our ancestors. Let's go to our ancestors. The tub. And I'm talking about like east, like near the Red Sea, all that. Like a lot of that stuff that know that I guess certain people in Europe, they brought that from the Middle East and Africa, northern Africa. Not saying West Africa, but you know, Africa, the continent. It's a big place. If you've never been, you should go. It's dope.
These were taboos. To be a single mother or a single father,
Agreed.
to not have a foundation in your household was looked down upon. Being on the welfare
Now, no, it's not today. It's not today. Now we celebrate it. Oh, you go, girl. You go, queen. You don't need no man. Meanwhile, they're raising the future criminals. But you want to know something? We never really truly got rid of slavery in our country. And I mean, you can go and look. It's literally in the Constitution, and not the Constitution. I'm sorry, not the Bill of Rights technically, but in our other amendments. It's one of the amendments. Is it the 12th or 14th? One of them. Let me go look it up. I actually don't remember which number it is. The 14th Amendment or is it the 12th Amendment? Privilege amendment shall not. Oh, yep. I think it's 14th Amendment. Okay. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. Wait. No, this isn't it. Is it the 12th Amendment or the 13th Amendment? There we are. It's the 13th. I was one off. This is just a off by one error. I can make these types of errors because I'm a computer scientist. That's the only kind of error. It's our favorite kind of error. Off by one. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude. Okay. Let's just throw this sentence out because it doesn't matter anymore. Except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States. So slavery won't exist in the United States, but it will if you do this crime. So slaves, the reason why slaves exist is because labor is one of the most valuable human resources on earth, human labor. And if you don't have to pay for that labor, man, you can make a lot of money. So what happens when the country that that you just went to war with or in, they win and they're like, oh yeah, you can't have slaves anymore. But they're going to throw you a bone. You can't have slaves unless they've committed a crime. Well, if you want to ensure that you have a steady supply of slaves, it makes a lot of sense that you would try to target a community and remove the discipline, because if you have an undisciplined man, they are more likely to commit crimes so that they can go back to being slaves like their ancestors were. You take fathers out the home, the chances of, especially if it's a boy, the chances of them becoming a criminal shoot up. For women, it's different. For women, their chances of being a single mother and having all shoots up, which increases the likelihood that they too will have children who either repeat what they did, which is have children, or both, because technically guys can have children too, but not in the same kind of way, right? So it's like, technically, we're ensuring that we have a permanent underclass within our country. Now, I don't know if I care more about this because I happen to share the same skin complexion as these people. And a lot of people tend to conflate my skin complexion with crime. I don't know if it's because of that or if it's because I really believe that we should not have a nation of slaves. Do you know we have the highest prison population in the world? The United States has the largest prison population in the world per capita. It's insane.
System was looked down upon. It's not to say that there weren't individuals who were parts of the system, or there weren't individuals who, were indeed living in such a way, or maybe because of circumstances, etc., they ended up in, having a single mother household, or ended up on the welfare system, whatever it may be. But that was not seen as a path.
The welfare system is Uncle Zaddy Sam. It's amazing how strong and independent they are, but somehow they had to take money from their zaddy, who steals money from me. Maybe I shouldn't say steal. I give it to them because they threaten my life. So I don't know what you call it. They've coerced it out of me. I don't know, right? Like, if someone comes to you and they say, hey, we'll shoot you in the back of the head unless you give us this money. Yeah, you gave them the money, but did you? That's kind of where I'm at with taxes. Is like, for one, they are just taking out of my paycheck, which is one of the reasons why I've never really been like, oh yeah, let me just go run to a paycheck. It's weird and it's gonna be crazy. Let's say that I lost my paycheck. You know what I would do? I would stop paying everything. Zero fucks. I have money abroad. It's fine. I realize I don't need anything. I just go back home. Like, that's fine. It's okay.
That one would choose intentionally. Whereas now we've created a culture that's...
Well, I don't know if we can call it still. I mean, we can, but let's use words. Let's see. Can we call it that? Take without permission or legal right. Okay, so no, we can't call it still. Because legal right. Now, legality don't really mean much without enforcement, and they have bigger guns than me. Have more resources, so can't call it still.
Celebrates these things. It pedestalizes. And how do I know they celebrate, or we have even allowed for the celebration? Look at hip hop. Look at rap, which is oftentimes called a huge part of black culture.
Rap and hip hop are not the same thing. I hate to be a pedant, but rap and hip hop are not the same thing. Rap is the art form, speaking, talking, normally in rhyme, but it doesn't have to be in rhyme. It's mostly just speaking a message. It will have rhythm to it. It will have melodic elements to it. But rap and hip hop are not the same thing. Now, rap is a part of hip hop, but it's not, it's, if you had like a big ass circle, rap would be one of the things within that big ass circle.
Culture, right? We like to claim it and say, well, this was created by black folks. This is a black American thing. And so this is our thing. Okay, if you're going to claim it, then you have to take everything that comes with it. That's what.
And while at the same time, you have to ask, what has it actually done for black people? My argument would be that hip hop has done absolutely nothing for black people. What institutions have been built as a result of hip hop? Hip hop makes a shit ton of money, but that money ain't through us. Ain't us. I mean, it's going to, I won't say it, but it's going to other folks, not us. So what has hip hop really done for black people? I can't think of anything.
Comes with that, right? It's like if you're going to claim hillbilly culture or redneck culture, you got to claim everything that comes with it, all the degeneracy and everything else that's there. So when you look at quote unquote hip hop culture or rap culture, you can see that criminality is something that is promoted.
I had to say it again because I know some people don't know. Hip hop is a culture. That hip hop is the culture. That's the culture. Hip hop culture. Rap art form born from the culture. All right, got it. I know some people like to conflate things, but I don't.
And celebrated. You have an individual who is locked up, and you have more of an emphasis to get that person out of prison and more of a celebration when they do come out of prison than a kid who is going into.
Oh man. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Wait. There's this, I don't know if it's a meme. I don't know how to make a meme. If somebody wants to help me make a meme, but like anytime any black person ends up going to jail, no matter what they did, oh man, free. The only one I can remember is, free Boosie. Like, or whoever, I don't know. Like, let me just type in like free Boosie and see who comes up. These shirts, and like it's always they always make a shirt, and in every song on the people's albums or single, they'd be like, oh yeah, free whoever. I don't know. I don't know that many rappers. I'm sorry. It's just something about stupid people. I don't want to hear anything they have to say. I'm not saying all rappers are stupid, but a lot of them are. It's not because they're rappers. It's just because they're stupid. Like most people just not saying anything. Some rappers are incredibly smart. Like seriously. Like, but I don't know if it's him. So I've never really listened to him. I imagine there are other rappers who've gone to jail and people are like, oh yeah, free whoever they are. Maybe I should get Lil Thug, free Lil Thug. We like to name ourselves after dumb shit. Like a bunch of all the Lil rappers, all the Thug rappers, all the Hood rappers. I don't think there's anybody named Hood. Even Juvenile, like even the name Juvenile, like really? Juvenile for what? Delinquent? I don't know. Even the names we use is just, I don't know.
University system, graduating.
We got Diddy parties from hip hop. Maybe. I mean, sure, we can rebrand them as Diddy parties, but let's be clear. What he was doing isn't new. He didn't invent that. I'm sorry, I just know too much. It's he didn't invent that. This has been something that's been going on in our country for a very long time. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, he has his parties too. And I think they're just for the folks who've been led into the elite from our community. One of the things I always used to wonder is how could they talk about the things they talk about, like openly admitting to crime. And I'm like, I don't think that's really covered by First Amendment. I mean, it is. You can say whatever you want, but to not go to jail or prison or whatever, talking about these things. My only conclusion is that you must be in bed with the state, because I am very well aware that our state allows certain things to happen so long as it's in their best interest. Some like, all these, gosh, what was it? The Tuskegee experiments. And I have very low trust in this government for reasons, It's the same state that enslaved my ancestors. So it's like that hasn't gone away from me. But this happened not that long ago. The state did this to us. This isn't the only thing. There are more and more things. But of course, you probably don't know it because why would you? Most people aren't curious enough to go and try to figure out all of the fucked up things that the state has done. And it's not just to people who look like me. Let's be clear. It's been to every group of people, including the majority group of people here. So I can't trust them because I'm like, man, if you'll do that to the people who look just like you, and apparently they're racist, which I don't even believe that it's racism. I think it's something else. But if you'll do that to people who are the majority, what's going to stop you from doing it to the minority who have no power?
And actually doing something productive with their life. I've seen many of these cases where there are parties being had for dudes coming out of prison, but yet the little brother or the cousin or somebody else in the family who's doing right is not celebrated in the same way. And that's
yeah, I didn't have any parties for graduating college, for getting my first job, for getting to, I think I got to 6 figures when I was 23. There was no parties. When I made my first 7-figure check, there was no parties. It was just hands out asking for shit. Like all the people who never really was there for me in any kind of way. Oh, you got money? No, fuck you. That was me. Like, nah.
It's a true systemic problem, right? It's in the culture. It's baked into what the people have allowed as a value system. And that's why I always come back to this argument of this is not a conversation about racism or the lack thereof. There's always going to be those who are ignorant. There's always going to be those who are hateful,
yes.
etc. Right?
True.
But as far as what's actually holding the people back as a collective, it's about culture. It's about what is accepted. What are the norms within these households? That's why you can have...
Man, you know what? He's making too much sense. So he's not going to make sense to most of the people in our so-called community. We don't respect intellectualism or intelligence it's something that I've just come to accept. And instead of, crying about it and just complaining about it all the time, I've just removed myself from the situation. And I surround myself with people who do share my values. Some of them are like me. So I'm not avoiding. It's just like, if you don't have my mindset, then I don't care what happened to you. You can fall on something sharp for all I care. But if you do have the same mindset, I don't care what you are. I don't care if you are American or if you share my complexion, if you have a different set of, I guess, a different worldview, or, some people are different religions. Some people aren't religious. It's value system. It's not even about finances. I don't even care what financial position you're in. It doesn't matter to me. It's just a value system. And unfortunately, and I mean it, because it would be dope if more people who share my complexion had my value system, but they don't. Right? So it's kind of unfortunate. But fortunately, there are some other folks who share my complexion who seem to have my value system and are, I think with the internet, it's making it easier for us to connect and find one another. Because in the past, it's very much where you're from. Like, if you're from the hood, well, most of the people are hood. So I get it, right? Like, I understand why certain people may stay in a pattern, but even then, I don't understand it from the point of, you can choose to be different. Now, it may be hard, but who said life should be easy?
One group of immigrants who come into this country and they run amok. They run a damn fool in these streets. Then you have another group of people who come here and they create something for themselves. They're real quiet. They're in the cut. They build up what they got to build up. And in 1 or 2 generations, they've built up wealth, right? Because they prioritize something different. Their culture has different norms. You go into Africa and go into some of these nations, there's going to be different personalities in every nation, and even, broken up into different regions. But you can go into one country and they might be destitute, poor, but yet the people have certain values. And so you're not going to get robbed. It's going to be safer than some of the wealthy places in another country, right?
That is true.
It's like you go to San Francisco.
100% true.
That is one of the wealthiest cities.
What's crazy is I didn't understand what safety felt like until I left this country. It's the richest country on earth. I had to worry about all kinds of things. But I can go to another country where, people here would be like, oh, I'll never want to go there. They're so poor. They're just looking down on them. I'm just like, the fuck? You go there to these other countries, they're happy. And they don't want any of your shit. That's the thing, is that I think a lot of people fall into this trap that they think that because they want it, other people must want it. For this work, that's what wealth is, by the way. Is you have things that other people want. I think that sometimes people mistake their want for something as a lot of other people want it. Let's put it this way. Let's say that you go to a fashion store and you buy a whole bunch of Gucci and Louis Vuitton and whatever other shit people like to buy, dumb stuff. Like, you go and buy that stuff. That doesn't make you wealthy, because the only people who want it, really, well, it's not even most, but like the only few people who really want that stuff are other poor people. Saying, I have met no one who's rich who's like, oh yeah, let me go and buy this, or they're even looking at that. And I'm saying rich. I'm not saying, they got a couple $100,000. I'm talking about like 8 or 9, 10 figures. I've never seen them with that type of stuff. Hell, I even got chastised once. I got chastised, so I no longer buy stupid shit. I mean, I still do sometimes. I can't help myself, but this is one of the reasons why. And if you happen to be listening and you see this, sure, you were right, but it's okay. I'm not going to admit it again. I remember when I think I had just sold my G-Wagon, I think. And I had just put an order for 2 other cars. It was a BMW M5 Competition and a Porsche Macan GTS. And I remember this person saying to me, William, why are you buying another car? You need to stop buying these cars and focus on things that are more important. He's like, basically he told me I needed to grow up. He's like, why don't you just get you a Tesla or something? Just a regular car. And just, you know what? I did it. I talk shit about it all the time, even now. I hate my car. I hate the Tesla. I hate it. However, at the same time, I have learned a very important lesson with having this car that I hate. Even a car that I hate, it can get me from point A to point B. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, I don't drive, in my mind, I don't drive nice cars anymore. And my desire for going out and buying those types of things, it's still kind of there, but it no longer dictates me. I'm not out here saying, oh, I need X, Y, or Z, and then working backwards and thinking about, man, how am I going to get X, Y, and Z? Now I just don't want most of this shit. I'm just saying, it's fine. But that's also the benefit of having had all of these things and realized that it doesn't really do anything. It's just like, oh yeah, you have a nice car. Okay. Yeah, that's it. It's a nice car.
In America, yet you don't feel safe in those streets half the time.
Yep.
Whereas,
I don't walk outside at night anymore here. I used to like five or 6 years ago. I think I moved here like 7 years ago. To this where I'm at now. I used to walk out in the neighborhood 11, 12, 1 o'clock at night, just with Roscoe. But ever since COVID and after COVID, we've had a lot more homeless people walking around. We have a lot more crazy people walking around. I'm like, I'm not trying to go out there. So now when I want to go out and just walk around at night, I just leave the country. But I do recognize a lot of people don't have that option to just be like, yeah, just fuck off willy-nilly like that. But yeah, it's kind of insane. When you go to other countries, they have night markets. It's not just Asia. They're in Africa too. They're in the Middle East. In fact, a lot of stuff in the Middle East don't really start until later at night. But for whatever reason, I can't walk around and feel safe anywhere here or in certain Western countries. Like, let's say that I want to go out and do photography. Like, I have this dope camera that supposedly, I know it is, but like it's I can do stuff in low light. I have these fast primes. I would love to go out walking downtown to do night photography. Now, am I going to go out there by myself? Hell no. First, it's going to have to be another dude with me, and one of us needs to be strapped. That's the only way that I'm willing to go out and like take pictures at night. And that shouldn't even be I pay far too much in taxes for my life to be that shitty, where I can't even go out into my city and enjoy myself taking pictures of the city without having to worry about Pookie and Ray Ray trying to come and take my shit. It's not just Pookie and Ray Ray. It's all of it's everybody. It's we got a lot of craziness happening here.
You can go to, let's say, I was going to say Lagos, but I can't even speak of Lagos because that might be closer to San Francisco at this point in history. But you can go to a place like, let's say, Accra in Ghana, right, where I was about 3
Lagos is, it depends on what part of Lagos you're in. I don't know if someone's from there. Is it Lagos or Lagos? I thought it was Lagos because it's Portuguese, but it may be Lagos. Where I stay, it's okay. Now there are other places where I'm like, I'm not really trying to stay there. Here, I think I show it on the map where I normally stay. Look at this. Y'all about to see an American who actually knows where the fuck things are. I know it's a rare sight. All right. So I would normally come over to Victoria Island and Lekki. So these are the only places that, well, not only, but this is where I would mostly stay in this little area here. Every now and again, I would come over to Lagos Island, because there are some things to do here, like in Ikoyi or over here. In fact, there's a lot of really dope stuff over here. One of the places I got some of the best suya I've had was over here on Koyi. Yeah, all through here. There's off the coast. I've done some stuff out over here, and I've also gone out to. Gosh, I don't actually know the names of the. It was out here somewhere. It was somewhere far. That's all I know. Somewhere deep. And I'm just like, man, like I hope nothing happens to me. Yeah, man. I really wish that I can remember the name of the village that I went to, but it was out there, and it was an adventure. I will say that.
Years back, I was walking through those streets at 11, 12, sometimes close to 1 a.m. Just walking down, pick up food. They're still cooking, you know.
Same. And this was in Lagos, but in Victoria Island, right? Now I have been to mainland. Wait, did I close that? I did, of course. Okay. I call it mainland, even though it's not really. I don't know why I call it mainland. I wonder if I call it mainland because they call it that. I don't know. All right. Let's find Victoria. Here we are. Okay. Maybe that's why I call it mainland, because you have to come over here. So I have done things in Lagos proper. It's different. It's different. I've walked around and man, I almost got in trouble. Well, it's not like real trouble, but more like there was some concern and people told me never to do that again. I was like, oh, why? Like I'm out here. I'm everywhere I go, I'm out there. So I was in this area. I was in Yaba. And they were like, wait, you were walking around? I'm like, hell yeah, I was just walking there. They're like, without your security? I'm like, hell yeah. I ditched them. Why would I? Like, you know how crazy it is to have freaking a military truck? Like, no, these people may think that I'm somebody that I'm not. So, yeah, they were really upset about that one. They were like, no, don't do that again. I was like, all right, fine. I won't go walking around by myself again. I'm actually surprised they made a really big deal about it too. A really big deal. They were like, oh no, you stand out. I was like, I'm not even I don't wear nice clothes. So if you ever meet me in person, you'd probably be like, man, why you look homeless? Why you have like a hobo style? It's because I don't really care that much about personal appearance that much because of reasons. So, yeah, I'm in my mind. I'm like, I got my little toe shoes on. If I don't know if y'all, some people know me, but I have toe shoes. I'll show them to you. They're right there. I was just wearing them too. Actually, hold on. I'll just show you my socks so that you understand. All right. See, I wear toe shoes. All right. so I'm like out here just not even matching. I'm just out here. If I match this, it's all black. So I don't have nice stuff. I don't wear jewelry. The only thing I had of any value was my camera. And that's generally the most expensive thing that I will ever have with me is a camera. I don't even have a wallet on me most times. Like I don't carry cash. I don't have nice shoes. Even if you want to steal my shoes, you wouldn't like them because first, you don't have the socks. I guess you would go barefoot, but they don't have any padding on the bottom. They're just, I was going to show them. I'll go show them. I have two different sets of shoes, and just understand that these are like my 6 because I go through these. I buy like 2 every year. So these are just for walking, just regular, no street. And these are for when I'm traveling. So I'm wearing these. If I am wearing a nice shoe, it's going to be my, I have some Adidas Terex something trail runners, waterproof, that kind of thing. Those are the nicest shoes that you'll ever really see me wearing. I do have some actual nice shoes. I just don't wear them because I just don't like wearing them. You may ask, well, why the hell did you spend all this money on them? I don't know. That's a good question. It's a good question. Let me figure out what the name of these shoes are. I know we're watching this video, but now I have to figure out if they still sell the shoes. Oh, look, they have, okay. I was thinking about this on my walk. Cause I was like, oh, it's about time for me to get a new pair. Cause I try to get a new pair of these every year. I walk a lot. So I'm glad that they still have them. So these look a little bit different now from what I have, but these are the same shoe essentially. So long as they have the same wide toe box, I'm good. So this is generally what I wear if I'm wearing shoes. Now, I'm seeing that maybe they have another one that maybe I want to get. See, I don't do this for not for trail runners. Oh man, I don't know. Maybe I need these. I don't. I don't need those. I want them though. This is something I've developed. I know what I need versus what I want. But I'm going to get these. I'm getting these shoes regardless because, you know, like I said, I try to get some every year because I walk a lot. And I keep all of them too. It's really important for me to keep them because I like these shoes. I take them to all these different countries. So for me, it's like, oh man, like I have a pair of shoes that have seen 20 different countries. Right. And then the new shoes is like, oh yeah, these have seen like 17 different countries. So it's something that I like, even with my luggage. I'm like, oh man, I feel kind of proud that I have the same stuff that's been with me every single place that I've been. It's just, it's sentimental, I guess. And I assume that I would be able to pass it on to someone else because it's not the type of luggage where it's, you know, it doesn't fall apart. So I can give it to someone later in life when I'm no longer traveling. All right, anyway, enough about shoes. It has nothing to do with anything.
Fried yam and all types of stuff like that. I would walk over to the spot as a foreigner and I felt safe in those environments. Now, I'm not saying that everywhere is exactly like that, but it's to say that even in areas where you might find poverty, you don't necessarily find the link of criminality.
And you know what? A continuation of what he's saying is the hood. Just keep in mind that the hood didn't become a bad place until after the grandparent, like the grandparents, it was a nice place. These places were nice, working class, respectable places. And, you know, they brought up their children. And I say there because they stuck together, they were married. It wasn't until, you know, the generation they produced, they started to, you know, change a little bit, go a different direction. And when they had children, man, things went really, really, really south. Then it became boys in the hood. Like, think about that, right? Like the boys in the hood, their grandparents were the ones who built up these areas to these working class areas that were nice and respectable. And even now it's gotten worse because, you know, my generation, because I'm third or I'm the second generation from my grandparents, which is, that's my barometer because that was the last generation that had the value system that, you know, resulted in all of the positive outcomes for us. So I'm second removed from that. So the people who are my age, you know, they've had, I don't know, several kids maybe that they don't take care of. They still live in that place in, you know, their grandparents' house with their parents. And if their children are with them, you know, they're in that same place. It's kind of bad.
Because they're not interlinked in the way that we have been told. We've been told that poverty creates criminality.
That's not true.
A culture that fosters or allows for criminality creates more.
Yeah, that's it right there. Because these working class neighborhoods were never rich. That's why I keep saying working class. These weren't rich people, but they lived by a certain value system that didn't allow for that other type of stuff to happen. And I have to say that it's not, you know, just growing up poor because I didn't grow up rich. I don't steal shit. You know, I have other family members who didn't grow up rich by any stretch of the imagination. And they're not thieves. They don't do that type of shit. So it's the culture. And I can't just say that it's hip hop culture. I think it's deeper than that now. I think our culture was destroyed when there was another little thing that happened shortly after civil rights. I think that's when our culture died. You know, All of our men got put in prison. And then the state replaced the fathers. And now we have this permanent underclass, which, to be honest, I'm not saying this because I agree with it. The only way America works is if there's a permanent underclass.
Criminality. When you have laws like the one in San Francisco, maybe you would have had 2 out of every 10 people who are actually going to steal, you know, and suffer the actual repercussions of being locked up.
Not even that many. 2 out of 10, that's too many.
When you decriminalize that, you now might have 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10 individuals who are willing to steal and are okay with it.
It probably would have been like 2 out of 100, most likely. 2 or 3 out of 100. Generally, I think it's like out of a 10,000, like a per capita basis. And it wasn't that high. It's high now. I don't know what it is right now. We can go look if people are interested though.
Because there's not going to be consequences. So you have emboldened another 4 individuals or 40% of people to go in there and steal. And maybe all you have left are, you know, 4 to 5 people who just won't steal because that is their own moral compass. And so
yeah, that's me. I just won't steal. It's just, it's not even that I think it's wrong. I just think that I'm better than that. Why would I do things that people who I have no respect for do? A lot of what drives my decision making is I have a deep disdain for certain types of people, and I would never want to be like them. The fact that I had to sleep like them kind of makes me a little bit it irks me a little bit. That I had to, you know, we're still human after all, right? The fact that I share a fucking species with some of these people, it's like, oh my gosh.
The more you promote, the more you allow for, the more you make it acceptable, because that's all culture really is. It's what is accepted within this culture. What are our norms? What are our customs, right? What do we do? Who are we? How do we present ourselves to the world? That's why clothing and things of that nature are very closely associated with culture. When they talked about the sagging of the pants and how that was prison culture, representing something that a lot of these young boys would pull.
I wonder if y'all knew that. No. It came from prisons. It's kind of like the pocket. You know, if you pull out your pocket and another man is holding your pocket, it's kind of like that. You are someone else's. You know what? You know all this egg. You know, there's this egg test that I've heard about, and I wonder, like, you know, a lot of these rappers who a lot of these younger kids want to emulate, and they all up on they just glazing these dudes. I wonder if they realize that some of these dudes have alternative lifestyles. Let me just say it that way.
Pull their pants up real quick if they actually understood what the hell that was signaling to the world. But these things, prison culture, gang culture, etc., became embedded into the mainstream culture. And it's problematic for all people. It doesn't matter what you look like. It's never been a racial thing. That's why I continue to bring up culture.
Yeah, he's right. He's right. If you look at what's happening in Japan and Korea and China with people who have adopted hip hop culture, it's it's yeah I have to go back. What has hip hop built? If it hasn't built anything and the only thing it's done is destroy, then it can only be evil. But that's if you hold my worldview that evil can only destroy. It can never create. All it can do is destroy. So when I look at hip hop, I have to ask the question, what has it created? I don't know if it can't create anything, but so far history has shown that it hasn't created anything, but it's destroyed a lot. So I put it on the scale of more evil than good.
Want to point to race, but then if you just look at race alone, now you have to say, well, then it is one race inferior to another because why is one race doing it more than everybody else? Why is there a usual suspect? We don't like to talk about this in public because we
yeah, the usual suspect. Who are the usual suspects? Just curious. I do get annoyed sometimes when people are like usual suspect, and it's like, to me, it shows me that they're a little bit not, their IQ isn't high enough for them to understand that it's not really a racial thing, but it's more of a class thing. I don't think Americans will ever truly appreciate how much class has to do with everything in our country. And I'm saying this as someone who has I don't know if you could tell, I grew up in a black area, right? And what I have found is that because of what I've been able to accomplish and rise through the ranks or whatever you want to call it, there are people who are my complexion, who think along my lines, and who are in my socioeconomic class, who look down on other people, even people who are just like them. And that's something I haven't been able to really get my head across. I'm just like, I don't know if we should be looking down on people actively, not just like, it's one thing to just say I don't care about them. That's me. Like, just, whatever, I'm just gonna live my life. It's another thing to be like actively, man, I don't know. I'm not gonna out anybody. I'm gonna just keep.
You want to hide your cousin. You want to hide your nephews. You want to hide whatever it is, and the dysfunction that you're seeing on scale. But it's really not a race conversation. We got to let that aspect go and start to look at culture. What are we allowing ourselves to value? You know, people who don't hold the values of the hood, the values of the streets or whatever it may be, and they're black, they're going to move the hell up out those environments when they have enough resources. Every time.
Man, you want to know what's crazy? How come the first thing somebody wants to do and they make a lot of money is move out the hood? But at the same time, they want to glorify it and pretend to be that. Like, that's something I've never understood. I went to high school in Pearland, which is a suburb. I thought it was a rich suburb, it's all relative, right? Here, let me show y'all my high school that I went to. Images. Okay. You know what? I think we can go to Google Maps. Maybe better to do. This is the school, by the way. All right, let's go over to Pearland. Where are we at? That's 288. Over here somewhere. This is McCalla. Where are we at? Airport. That's a little bit too far. All right. Oh, wait. No, that's not far enough. I'm tripping. All right, here we are. So we got Pearland. So Barry Rose. I used to live off of Barry Rose Road. And we would take Pearland Parkway up to school. Where's Pearland Parkway? Here we are. Pearland Parkway. So if I remember correctly, this is Independence Park. And then Pearland High School is right here. This area. So let's just put a little bit of a thing right here. Oh, wait. Why did it? Okay. I didn't go. Wait, where did I just go? 64, 35. Oh, here we go. I went a little bit too far. Okay. See all this giant, all of that? I went to school here. Where we had a baseball thing, we had a soccer thing, we had football stuff, we had track, we had lacrosse. So let that sink in. You don't see people playing lacrosse in the hood. We had a hockey team, we had a swim team. And the reason why I'm saying this is because normally affluent schools are going to have a lot of these like different types of athletic types of things. And the facilities for them, because let's be real, in order to have a swim team, you need a swimming pool, a big one, so that you can do stuff like that. So I went here, and to me, this is, in my view, these rich people. Yeah, it's a big campus. I used to park in this parking lot when I got a car. I eventually got a car. And we'll go to the front. Oops. So we can see how big of a school it is. So it's like all this is the campus, and it goes all the way down here. I used to get picked up right here. The buses, 'cause I used to ride the bus too before I got a car. In fact, my engineering class, it was in that building right here. My engineering class was here. My one of my math classes was actually, it was literally right here. Don't ask how I know. My computer science classes were literally on the other side, but on that same thing, art history. And then over here, the library. I spent a lot of time in the library. It was one of my favorite places to be. It's just right here. Yeah, so I went here and oops, let me go ahead.
People who don't hold the values of the
So I went to that school, and it was one of the first times where I went to a school where it wasn't predominantly people who look like me. And one of the craziest things is that there were people who were born, like they grew up in Pearland, but they would always pretend to be hood. And it never made sense to me because I'm like, I'm just like, wait a minute. I don't understand. But I really, it's like, let's say will.i.am, not me because my name is Will, but the guy will.i.am, the artist. He grew up in Compton. Yet you have people who grew up in gosh, what's the place? Brentwood, who over here pretending and repping like they grew up in Compton, and the dude who actually grew up in Compton is not acting that way. So I'm just like, wait a minute, like, this is weird. Y'all are out here acting and pretending and doing all these things. I'm like, I just came from that area. I'm just like, I don't behave that way. I don't act that way. I never understood it. But over time, I think I started to understand it's just glorified. For whatever reason, they want to be like that. And I don't understand. If you've ever lived in the hood, why the fuck would you want to be like? Like, why would you want to live in that lifestyle? To me, it's disgusting. I don't look at that as a aspirational lifestyle. Oh, I want to be hood. And it's like, the fuck? It's kind of disrespectful.
hood, the values of the streets or whatever it may be, and they're black, they're going to move the hell up out those environments when they have enough resources every time. Like on
and I'm gonna go a step further. When you eventually come into my area and I'm noticing that you hood, I will leave. It's not just me. We leave. I should say we leave when y'all come. Just let that sink in. That's why I'm canceling my lease here now. We got some more different. We got people who I'm just like, all right, it's time to go. I don't care if you got your OnlyFans money. Like, no, just because you have money doesn't mean you have class. And this way, it's different.
What was it? Next Friday? I always said if I got me some money, I was gonna stay in the hood. As soon as I got me some money, I was gone. Absolutely. Most people are going to leave those environments if they can, because those environments have now become like hotbeds of that culture, of that prison culture.
Nah, what he should have said is, oh man, I might get fired. Why would you want to stay in the bucket? I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. Why are you trying to stay in that bucket? So of course you're gonna leave if you get an opportunity to get out the bucket.
Of that gang culture, of a culture of degeneracy and toxicity. Again, I break the conversation apart from just merely race, because it's not a race thing. As we go into history, we see that those who had such cultures, the Italian Americans, etc., at a certain point in American history, there was a huge criminal culture, a huge gang culture, a mafioso
in
culture,
New York,
and that was now becoming a part of the norm. So
in Chicago as well,
was being made okay.
It wasn't just them; it was the Irish as well.
Whereas, now these individuals, I guess, picked up, certain customs that they're not necessarily the most problematic individuals. They're not the ones you got to look for, at night. It's not the usual suspect is not it's not Lorenzo or Tony at this point.
I wonder if we're the usual suspect because we have built-in camouflage at night.
And it shouldn't be anybody, but unfortunately, we find more and more cases of individuals who look like us, who look like me, that are the usual suspect. Look, I'm not a sugarcoater by any means, by any stretch. And if you get offended by facts, that's between you and the donkey that you rode in on. But we have to be honest. Why is it that I'm on X and 7 out of the 10 people doing the most foolish stuff look like this? Because individuals within this space, within this demographic, have allowed for this to be okay within the culture. And so it pervades, it permeates. You start to identify with it. And we have to break apart from that. We have to fragment it. And I even say, we have to separate ourselves from these individuals to begin with. That's self-preservation.
He's right. Stop listening to rap. Most of it. All of it. There's better music out there anyways. It's fine. There are still some rappers I listen to, but it's not really a big part of what I listen to. Yeah. What you listen to, if you're not paying attention, it actually influences how you think and how you behave. If you don't believe that, why is there music, like certain types of music played on an elevator or over the phone? Or if you go to a gym, how come the music is different? Or if you're in a yoga class, if they have music, why is the music what it is? If you've ever listened to music and felt emotions, that is the power of what music can do. It's incredibly powerful, which is why it's such a big deal. Which is also a crazy thing that, the people like a lot of black folks, like we create a lot of music and it gets exported around the world. And it's a shame that we don't really have control over it so that we can use that power to actually do things for us. Like, say, for instance, the Koreans. When I hear and see a lot of what they're doing, I'm like, this is, yeah, you're doing what, of course, they're doing what we do, except they're making it work for them. They control it and they make sure that it benefits them. We don't really do that, which is kind of a shame.
That's why also I uncoupled the aspect of it's just about race. And when you have that racist mindset or that mindset that is fixated on race, you just think everything through the lens of race.
Yes, because you're dumb. That's what you like. Yes, that's what dumb people do. They can only think of one thing that something can be. It can't be a confluence of things. It has to be one thing that removes all accountability from themselves. So let's say, for instance, I go somewhere and I'm trying to do something. I want something, but I get told no and I get passed over in favor for someone else. Some people will say, oh, this person's just racist. Other people will be like, oh, well, I'm not a fit. And some people will be like, oh, I'm just not good enough. They were looking for this and I was this. Only one of those removes all accountability from yourself. It's the one where the other person is a racist. It's nothing to do with me. It's them. To be honest, that type of thinking is what losers do. And it shames me that I have such a large community of people who look like me who are losers.
You think this, well, white people are looking at me that way anyway. Who told you that? Who told you that? Maybe you had experiences in your past, and so you project those onto everything else that happens, right? You see every slight as racism. You see everything that happens through the lens of racism. And I understand, trust me, trauma can stick. And if you do not deal with it in a healthy, productive way, if you don't boss up on that damn trauma, it will carry.
All right. He hasn't lost me, but man, that word, it's a trigger for me. Because like, what trauma? Is it the trauma of seeing your father hung, or having a bunch of dudes in sheets come to your house and knocking out all the glass in your windows, shooting guns and setting the yard on fire? Is it that? Is it seeing your brother get lynched? I'm just trying to figure out what trauma are any of like my generation, like the generation before me, my mom, what trauma have we experienced? I wasn't a slave. My ancestors were slaves, yet they were able to build and make themselves better, so that I can be where I am. They had trauma and that didn't stop them from doing shit. So this idea of trauma, it's like, no, that's bullshit. No one who was born in the modern age of America has really experienced like true trauma as our ancestors did. I think we have a generation of weak people in our country. They use these words to amplify I'm not saying him. I'm not attacking him. I'm mostly talking about, because there are people who are like, oh, it's trauma. And it's just like, no, this is just, you don't want to accept accountability. So you're going to use one of these words and say, oh, it's that. It's a scapegoat word. And no, I'm not having it. None of us have experienced slavery in this country. I mean, unless you went to prison, but. So like, what trauma?
Throughout your life, and you will have a warped perception of the world. And many people walking around with that warped perception. They're walking around with these not so rose-colored lenses, with these dim lenses, seeing the world in that way. And so they continue to perpetuate behaviors, and we continue to egg it on. We continue to make it okay. We have, maybe a true level of empathy in there, but really there's also a part of us which is afraid to be exposed. Whenever I see people defending criminality, I see them defending 304 culture or, all these sorts of dysfunctional ways. All I think to myself is, do you know that you're showing your own hand? You're actually showing what you're willing to allow to get away with for self as well as others. Maybe you got that grandma type of love and you want to you want to coddle. But coddling is not going to lead to correction. You need to correct, and then you can coddle after the fact, right? What we oftentimes call tough love, which is just real love, which is telling somebody the truth, to say, this is dysfunctional, this is problematic, and I'm not going to accept it. I'm not going to put up with it in my house. I'm not going to put up with it in our environment. You're not going to pollute this ecosystem and let your little brother and your little sister, whoever it is, to go in the same path as you. I did a video not too long ago. Hopefully it's out by this point. And it was of a mama who was going the hell off on her daughter. I guess her daughter posted a video where she was talking about her dead ops or whatever. And her mama was like, she was.
Man, these people are dumb. My gosh. That's crazy. So you mean to tell me that now the group of people who can't even secure their own rights, they had to ask for it from, basically they had to ask for the rights from people who give them the rights. Now they're out here talking like the dudes who give them the rights. Okay.
She was cussing up and down. And she said, you better apologize to them. Apologize to that family. Apologize to that. But like the mama was going in. She said, you ain't no thug. You ain't no gangster. You ain't. And you could tell the mama was from that element, but she wanted better for her daughter. So communication method was a little.
So yeah, that right there. It's that she is from that. Her daughter isn't. Maybe, hopefully. And she's like, what the hell? Yeah, I would probably be like that too. If I had I would probably be the same way. Where it's just like, oh, you gonna find out. Oh, you think you one of them. You're not built like that. You soft.
It was what it was. But she was looking to do better and to communicate this message to her daughter because she doesn't want the proliferation. She doesn't want the continuation of that criminal culture.
Yeah.
That's a conscious decision that is now being made. And that's a decision.
That's called parenting, I think, right? Isn't that called parenting? We don't really have parenting anymore. We now let the state do it. But every now and again, somebody will remember that that's their job and they'll do it. Kudos to that woman for disciplining that child.
All have to make at a certain point. What are we going to put up with and what are we going to excommunicate from our ecosystem? You go back to Africa. Again, I was born in Africa. So from the age of 0 to the age of 10, I was in Zimbabwe and then South Africa. And what you get to understand is that it's like everybody has this, or everybody. Most people in the West have this perception that Africa is just, Africa. Some still think it's a country, which is embarrassing.
It is embarrassing for them. How stupid can you be to not know the difference between a country and a continent? But
it's a multitude of countries, but within those countries, there's a multitude of tribes. So your next door neighbor might be a different tribe. And tribes are broken up by customs, by culture. So just because we look the exact same doesn't mean we have the same culture. It doesn't mean we share the exact same historic context. And that's the short-sightedness of race. When you fixate on race, you can't. Honestly, a lot of times, even the different tribes, they look, I mean, if you're not from there or if you're just not used to seeing the differences, like small differences in people, you would probably look at them and be like, oh, they're all the same. Like a lot of Americans, we have this idea that countries truly exist. Just think about it, right? Like if you call someone South African, they may not identify as South African. I don't mean identifying what we talk about. I mean like South African is what we call them. Right? It's what we call them.
South Africa is also, that's English, and let's just pretend that they don't speak English in South Africa. Let's just pretend. So of course they wouldn't call, but it's like they go by their tribe first, which makes sense. It's tribe and then your family. And at some point, yes, I guess you're South African, but I heard most of them they claim African before they claim their country. A lot of these countries didn't really exist. They're new. They recently got their independence. Independence, not truly free.
Can't go outside of the conversation of these are different peoples by custom, just like with white folk. You can see the Swedes, and you can see
this is something that I tell this is something that I noticed when I was young. Generally, white people, they weren't just white. They knew where they were from. So this is when I started to not call people by just a skin complexion, unless they identify that, they're like, oh, I'm white. Okay, then sure, I'll call you that. But if you're someone, you're like, I'm French, you're French. I'm going to identify you by your nation, where you come from. If you're Irish, you're Irish, right? If you are Italian, you're Italian. Yeah, most people will be like, oh, no, they're all white. Sure, whatever, fine. If you believe that, then that just tells me you haven't been around Earth enough to realize that there are a bunch of people who are of light skin color who are not what you would consider white. Go to the Middle East. You might find that there are a lot of people who are, you're like, oh, you're no, they're not. They're Arab. But they happen to have features that you may be like, oh yeah, they're white. And it's not really the case. You can even see that in Africa. Just FYI.
Danish folks, and they're different people. You see the Belgians, they're different people. We
Yep.
look at it, look at white folks.
Yep.
They don't look at it that way.
Yep,
They see
exactly.
themselves as a part of that culture, right? That nation, if we want to break it down to that at this point. But even when you go to Africa, it's like go to Nigeria and see how many tribes.
Bro, I can, yeah. Yeah. It's starting to click now because he didn't grow up here. Most Americans cannot get that concept through their head that a lot of times, like, it's not country or race. It's something deeper. Now, certain countries, the ethnicity, like everyone's the same ethnicity, especially up in like, certain Western European countries, they're all the same. Like, so you can kind of substitute nation for this, for the same thing. But a lot of people don't vibe with this idea of race. That's mostly a Western West thing, like the West of the West, America. We're West of the West. Because I consider Western like, all of the European stuff west of the Byzantine, not Byzantine, what's that place? Turkey. So like Greece, Italy, Rome. Well, Rome is in Italy. The Britain, France, Germany, like all of the West. And we're west of that.
It's not just the Nigerians, though there may be an affinity. There's still going to be different dialects, different languages, different subsects. This one does this and this one does that, and they're polar opposites as far as how they actually move through life.
They even look different too. They look different. I can tell the differences, but that's because I didn't want to just be like everyone else and just be like, let me just put you all in a group. So when I meet different people and they're like, oh, I'm from this tribe, and I meet other people who are from those tribes, I start to, I see patterns. I'm like, oh, okay. I can now start to kind of identify whether or not someone is, like he's talking about Nigeria. I can kind of identify if someone is Igbo or Hausa. I can kind of, I'm not 100% accurate, but I'm pretty accurate. And then there's the other one. I forgot what the other one called. Yoruba, whatever. Like, I can kind of tell some of them too.
So I believe that this may very well be what is actually taking place. There might be a fragmenting that is necessary, where it's tribal. That's a part of who we are. We have to separate ourselves from the tribes who do not resonate with the things that we do, the things that we support. So if we support having these values, God, family, of being productive in society as opposed to destructive in society, if these are the things that we hold as our values, and here we have dysfunction, toxicity, drama, chaos, we have to separate ourselves from that. That can no longer be a part of our narrative. We are not the same culture as these individuals. You know, you look at the woke ideology and the culture that they're creating. It's like, you know, it's okay to chop off your private parts or to take the kids and mutilate them and all. We're not a part of that culture. 304 culture. We're not going to be a part of that culture. We're not going to promote being a streetwalker. We're not going to promote that. Oh, but you know, S work is work too. In your world, it is, not in ours. We're not going to promote that in our households. We're not going to push that in our households.
Yes.
We're a different culture altogether. And so I believe the faster we begin to recalibrate in that way.
I think this dude is well on his way to becoming a thought leader in this world. We need more people like him.
The better it's going to be. And that doesn't create for more division. It creates for more consistency within the groups. And then groups can come together and we can collaborate. And then if we see, oh, there's two matching cultures, that's when you now become combined. As opposed to trying to force with something that you are completely in opposition to. Criminality, dysfunction, toxicity as the natural order of the day.
I used to be afraid of the dark.
All right, cool. That was a good video. I shared it earlier. Y'all can go look at it. Give it a like if you liked it. Wait, oh, I thought this was video. Okay, well, I thought I had a video for that. Oh, okay. Let's take a peek at what's happening in China. This is Joe Blogs. I love his content. I've been following him for years. One of the things I've always noticed is his little statues. They always change. He changes the poses. Before they used to change every video, but now sometimes they change every shot, which is kind of cool.
Hi, welcome back to Joe Blogs. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about what's happening in the Chinese economy, and specifically to talk about bonds, currency, and the stock market, because there are some very worrying things happening in China right now. And the central bank has announced that it's halted its bond buying program. And this is obviously a major concern because the whole point about government bonds is that they're backed by the government. That's why people put money into them, because they're seen as a completely safe asset. If you take out a government bond, you know that you're going to be repaid 100% by the government. However, if the bond market dies, if the central bank stops buying, then obviously that throws the whole market into chaos. And the bond markets at the moment globally are a really interesting place. If you're following the channel, you'll know that I recently posted a video talking about the UK, because bond yields in the UK have hit a 26-year high. And the reason for that is because everybody's selling UK bonds. There's an inverse relationship between the price of a bond and the yield.
Yes,
because when a bond is issued, it has a fixed coupon. So if that fixed coupon is 5% and you buy a $100 bond, you're going to be paid $5 every single year whilst you hold that bond. Now, if the price of that bond goes down, if it drops by 50%, then you're still going to get paid your $5 coupon. But at that point, because the price of the bond has fallen by 50%, your yield would actually double to 10%. So that's how the inverse relationship works. When the price of bonds go down, yield goes up. And if the price of bonds go up, then the yield goes down.
This is going to be crazy because I just started this, but I'm hungry. So I'm going to go eat.